In our headlines tonight, Anambra State government takes stock of erosion sites. Today is World Hepatitis Day. Youth corpus members cautioned against night parties and lone movements. And on the foreign scene, raging wildfire in Northern California. Good evening, glad to have you join us on the news tonight. I am Maureen Stone Enucheke. The State Commissioner for Works, Engineer Marcel E. Fejofo, with key members of his ministry and that of Environment, have visited some flooded and erosion-prone communities in the state. Correspondent Kenechukwu Chukwudi was on the Commissioner's entourage and filed in this report.
The spot of call was the Fite Iwezunu Road off Aguleri Junction, Anambra East Council area, where drainage blockage, especially around the Emeka filling station and the Eke Market, is affecting free flow of rainwater. The team later proceeded to Amigwe side due to Ogugwa Street, close to Omambala River, and Augustine Idigo Street, where erosion is threatening buildings close to the riverbank, as well as the road under construction. Incessant heavy downpours appear to be creating its own flood channel in the area. At the Demli North Council area, the team visited Mbemena Street, Awadobosi, where the road under construction has been cut into pieces by the flood, making it impossible for vehicles to pass and threatening structures close by. Also at Otto Street, St. James Anglican Church, Awada, the flood caused the collapse of the church fence, forming a deep gully in the vicinity. Speaking after the tour, Commissioner Ifejofo noted that the visit was directed by the Governor, Willie Obiano, due to the urgency of palliative measures while waiting for more permanent solution for the rainy season. He attributed the ugly development to climate change and called on the federal government through relevant agencies to assist the state.
As soon as possible, as soon as we leave here, we are going to brief His Excellency, and we have assured them that we are coming back to make this road at least passable for the rainy season. You know, this is rainy season. There's not much construction, but we can't leave them like this. If we don't do anything in the next 1 or 2 months, more serious things might happen, and we don't want that. His Excellency doesn't want that for the Anambra. So we are coming back to make life better for them.
The President General, Awada Central Landlords Association, Mr. Paul Chinedu, appreciated the governor for listening to their cries for help, as the problem requires urgent attention to save the affected buildings.
It's getting down, it's pushing out of the Wolelo side, and nothing. That's why we are calling the government to come and assist us to this kind problem. Because if you leave it in this form, we don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 days or 3 days. Because if you leave it like that, some of all these buildings may collapse. So we are calling on them to come and help us and know what are we going to do immediately.
The team also visited the Bo Umoji Dani Road to see the extent of erosion threatening the road at several portions, just as the team inspected the Obiaja River, which overflew its bank, covering another section of the road at Oyo Mill.
A one-day intensive workshop on business model for repayment schedule for beneficiaries of IFAD VCDP agricultural equipment has ended with a charge on the participants to plan for the gradual payment of their percentage fund ratio. The workshop, which took place at the Agricultural Development Program ADP office in Oka, attracted beneficiaries from the 5 participating local government areas. Agric correspondent Ebeleze has more.
Workshop open. The State Project Coordinator, IFAD Value Chain Development Program, VCDP, Mr. Anambra said that the agricultural equipment which are intended to support them in production, processing, packaging and marketing have the funding ratio of 70% for IFAD and 30% for them. Mr. Aguncha noted that the business model was aimed at making them pay their own 30% ratio gradually from the process of the equipment. He, however, stated that they will pay the money into a specific account for easy procurement of new equipment when the present ones depreciates.
Luckily for us, IFAD accepted to advance it to use it effectively, and then withdraw the program back to supported with a business model that makes you pay that 30% in installments.
The State Agricultural Production Officer, IFAD VCDP, Mr. Emmanuel Chukwukwelu, charged all those that received the 25 power tillers procured and distributed by IFAD VCDP to come with their power tillers at the 100 hectares of seed farm at Umumbo in Ayamelum local government area for practical demonstration and further training. Later, in a paper titled Savings and Record Keeping for Farmers, a resource person, Mrs. Chiamaka Abwele, said record keeping plays important and major role in any business regardless of size, nature or type. Some of the participants, Mrs. Ann Anerobi, chairperson, Nedima Women Cooperative Society Omo in Ayamelum local government area, and the secretary, Udoka Cooperative Society Ndiokbaleze in Orumba North local government area, Mr. Chibuzo Okoli, while testifying that the equipment have assisted them tremendously in farming activities, assured timely repayment of their 30% funding ratio.
Ngobele 30% every month. Every month I put because now since I use the machine I had about the morning to 3. There's one for one for the laborers who go about, one for the maintenance of that machine. If any damages is caused.
So yeah, but my equity, I don't got it. I got for Bob had
A question and answer session formed the highlights of the event. From the Agricultural Development Program Office in Oka, I am Ebele Eze, reporting for ABS News.
Governor Willie Obiano has been commended for his efforts in transforming the various sectors of the economy. A public affairs analyst, Mr. Ifechukwu Dan Jacobs, made his feelings known in the latest edition of ABS television program, Good Morning Anambra. Correspondent Oluebube Ude is our guide.
Dan Jacobs, a lawyer, extolled the giant strides of Governor Obiano on the agricultural sector, which he noted has rekindled the interest of many in the sector, and called on youths to embrace farming to become self-reliant. He equally praised the governor for his support to the ABS Film Academy, which he said will go a long way in training the youths in the creative media in addition to giving them employment.
We are getting the first set of their students today, and it's a welcome development that ABS is looking in that direction to encourage our youth to begin employing in the film industry. It's a welcome development, and the governor who will attend the inauguration ceremony, the first graduation ceremony, shows that he appreciates what ABS is doing. So I encourage ABS to keep it up, to develop the talents of our youth.
The television program also features some ministers of God who spoke on the 161 years of the coming of Christianity to Igbo land on 27th July 1857. One of the guests, Reverend Canon Basio Oji of St. Augustine's Anglican Church, Abagana in Njikoka local government area, said that the advent of Christianity to Igbo land has ended some obnoxious practices such as killing of twins and slave trade.
Ọ kwụsịrị iji mmadụ n'ozu maka onwe mgbe gboo na-abụ chief nwa asịsị chọba isi. Ọ kwụsịrị ịchụ aja dị iche iche, ritual murder. Then oziọma wetara anyị ụlọ akwụkwọ, weta ụlọ ọgwụ, weta ọtụtụ mkpụrụ osisi anyị na-eri.
Another guest, Reverend Canon Jason Onyakabusi, who spoke extensively on the role of Christianity in nation building, called for unity amongst all Christian denominations in the propagation of the gospel.
It is to tell them that we've come a long way, that thus far the Lord had led us, that the power of the Lord was upon the church, and the Bible says, the church of God shall move on, and the gate of hell cannot prevail against it.
Okay. In Oka, I am Oluebube Ude, reporting for ABS News.
Today is World Hepatitis Day. The day, which is observed every year on July 28, was chosen in honor of the birthday of Nobel laureate Professor Baruch Blumberg, who discovered the hepatitis B virus. The day also aims to raise global awareness of hepatitis and encourage prevention, diagnosis, and treatment. Correspondent Emmanuel Chibata has the report.
According to Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary, hepatitis is an inflammation of the liver. Research made it known that hepatitis affects hundreds of millions of people worldwide, causing acute and chronic disease and killing close to 1.4 million people every year. Sharing her thoughts on the issue, the Chief Community Health Extension Worker Nkwele Oka, Mrs. Harriet Akameru, said hepatitis is classified into hepatitis A, B, C, D, and E, and noted that it is caused by virus, toxins, immunological abnormalities, and bacteria infections, among others. She further explained that hepatitis is transmitted by food and drinks, infected blood, sexual contacts, contaminated body fluid like breast and sweat, plasma transfusion, and contaminated instruments, positing that if not properly treated, it can lead to liver cancer.
Illness of the skins, vomiting, severe weakness, that is fatigue, vomiting, abdominal pains. If you take a contaminated blood, infected blood, you can contact it. That is through blood transfusion. You can contact it even through contaminated water. You can contact it through bad fluids, contaminated fluids, and again through contaminated instruments.
On his part, a radiographer at St. Joseph Hospital Adazinuku, Mr. Kingsley Ndo, who explained that proper sanitation is the major factor in the control of hepatitis and adequate intake of vegetables, reiterated the need to always check hepatitis status always and take preventive measures to avoid destruction of other immune system in the body. Mr. Ndo also said that hepatitis can manifest in sicknesses like typhoid fever, blood shortage, malaria, blood disease, vomiting, and pelvic infection in females. The medical practitioner spoke on vaccines to prevent or cure the disease, such as CDC for active or passive immunization. In Oka, Emmanuel Chibata, ABS News.
This month's edition of the Environmental Sanitation witnessed low compliance in most parts of the state capital and environs. Ogachukwu Okeke monitored the exercise and filed in this report.
There was much vehicular movement on the major roads of Oka and environs as we are seen going about the normal businesses at Athoeze Avenue down to Unizik Junction to Okuno Town. Commercial motorists were busy picking and dropping passengers, while street traders were also displaying their wares. At Amobia Junction, some filling stations were also open for business. However, there were total compliance at Nkwameni and ever-busy Ekoka Market. Speaking to ABS, the Commissioner for Environment, Beautification and Ecology, Architect Michael Okonkwo, represented by the Director, Environmental Health and Pollution Control, Mrs. Edith Ike, lamented the low compliance by residents in most parts visited. He warned against apathy in the monthly exercise and charged in the Anambra to key into the exercise and comply totally to ensure a clean and healthy environment. Architect Okonkwo listed manpower and mobile court as some of the problems facing the ministry for effective enforcement of the exercise and called for assistance.
Like before, people are still moving around without actually doing what they ought to do. A lot of people are still moving around, both those moving on foot and vehicular movement. People are still moving around.
Also speaking, the Senior Special Assistant to the Governor on Environment, Mr. Stanley Nkwoka, noted that there was maximum compliance at Aroma Junction but low in other parts of the state, advising the Anambra to adhere to government rules and regulations.
Started at about 7 o'clock in the morning in line with the government directive, and we ended by 10. And here in Aroma Junction, we kind of experienced maximum compliance.
On her part, the Special Assistant to the Governor on Environment, Ms. Ruth Esedo, urged the citizens to key into the exercise to achieve a healthy Anambra. A resident of Zix Avenue, Oka, Mr. Daniel Okoye, appreciated the state government for its efforts towards ensuring neat and cleaner Anambra and encouraged the people to participate actively to achieve the goal.
We love cleanliness and we love what the state government is doing. So we're trying our best to abide to it.
The Director General of National Youth Service Corps, Brigadier General Suleiman Kazaure, has cautioned corps members against attending night parties, making lone movements, and embarking on unnecessary journeys during their service here. Brigadier Kazaure gave the warning on Friday while addressing corps members deployed to Bayelsa State for the 2018 Batch B orientation course. He also advised them to utilize the opportunities of service here to empower themselves towards becoming wealth creators, and noted that NYSC introduced the Skills Acquisition and Entrepreneurship Development Program into the orientation course content in order to enable corps members to become job creators and not job seekers. The NYSC Director General further observed that the era of salaried jobs has gone, which has rendered millions of youths unemployed across the country, adding that diligence, loyalty, patriotism, and self-determination are essential ingredients that every potential successful entrepreneur must abide with. He further urged the corps members to add value to their host communities by providing their felt needs through developmental projects. Nigeria on Friday joined other countries in Africa, the Middle East, Southern Asia, and the Indian Ocean region to witness a total lunar eclipse. Astronomers said Friday's lunar eclipse was the longest in this century, lasting for 103 minutes, and that this running time wouldn't be matched until 2123. A lunar eclipse occurs when the moon passes directly behind the earth and into its shadow, and this can only occur when the sun, earth, and the moon are aligned exactly or very closely, so will the planets in between. During a total lunar eclipse, the earth completely blocks direct sunlight from reaching the moon, and the only light reflected from the lunar surface appears reddish for the same reason that a sunset or sunrise does. Due to this reddish color, a totally eclipsed moon is sometimes called a blood moon. According to the National Space Research and Development Agency, the lunar eclipse in Nigeria started around 6:44 p.m. as partial eclipse and developed into a total eclipse around 7:30 p.m. In a statement by the agency's head of media and corporate communications, Dr. Felix Ale, the eclipse was expected to reach its peak around 9:21 p.m. and went from then until it ended around 12:30 a.m. of Saturday, that is today. Going on with the news, a raging wildfire in Northern California has killed 2 firefighters and forced tens of thousands of people to flee their homes. Fire officials say the fire in Shasta County are being sucked up by strong winds to form fire tornadoes that are uprooting trees and overturning cars. The blazes, known as the car fire, have destroyed at least 500 structures and are threatening thousands of homes. Firefighters are battling the blaze, which is only 5% contained so far. The wildfire began on Monday and has scorched over 48,000 acres of land, an area larger than the city of San Francisco. However, 2 firefighters, Fire Inspector Jeremy Stoke and the bulldozer operator, who has not yet been named, died trying to contain the blaze, while 3 people, a great-grandmother and her 2 great-grandchildren, are currently missing. About 37,000 residents have been forced to leave the area. Remember that you can listen to news and programs on ABS 88.5 FM from any part of the world by logging onto our website, www.absradiotv.com, and like I said, www.facebook.com/absradiotelevision. Following us on Twitter and Instagram at ABS Radio TV. And just before we go, a recap of the main points. Anambra State government takes stock of erosion sites, calls on federal governments for assistance in battling the menace. Today is World Hepatitis Day. Statistics show that hepatitis affects hundreds of millions of people worldwide and kills close to 1.4 million people every year. Youth Corps members cautioned against night parties and lone movements. And on the foreign scene, you heard that raging fire in Northern California has disrupted movements. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Maureen Stone Enujoke. Good night and thanks.